Jin BTS's sudden confession about his health condition immediately shook the global entertainment world. Why did the oldest member of BTS have to speak openly, while the manager stepped in directly? And armies around the world were gripped by panic. The statement did not appear in a relaxed atmosphere or ordinary promotion. Jin, who has been known to be stable, professional, and rarely shows his vulnerable side in public, instead chose a serious moment to convey that his body was not in the best condition. The sentence he uttered was short but full of meaning, enough to trigger a wave of speculation, concern, and intense discussion among fans and industry observers. Why no? And how serious is the condition in question? What makes this situation even more surprising is the direct involvement of the manager. In the K-pop industry, the presence of a manager to clarify or control the situation is not new, but it is rarely done openly when an artist conveys a personal health condition. This step was immediately interpreted as a signal that the issue could not be taken lightly. The manager not only serves as a companion, but also as an information balancer, ensuring that the message reaching the public does not develop into wild rumors. Army, known for their high sensitivity to every detail related to BTS, reacted quickly. Social media was filled with expressions of anxiety, analysis of snippets of Jin's statement, and comparisons with previous events when K-pop idols had to stop activities due to health problems. This concern is not without reason. In recent years, the issue of mental and physical health of idols has increasingly emerged, showing how heavy the pressure of the South Korean entertainment industry is. However, Jin did not speak in a dramatic tone or seek sympathy. He chose measured, almost academic language, as if to emphasize that this is part of his responsibility as a public figure. This attitude actually reinforces the impact of his statement. When someone who is usually calm and optimistic admits to limitations, the public tends to read the message as a serious warning, not just a temporary complaint. The manager's involvement then became key in reducing panic. The explanation conveyed emphasized that Jin's condition was under monitoring, not ignored, and handled professionally. However, instead of fully calming down, this clarification actually opened up new questions. If everything is under control, why is special handling needed? Why is information conveyed with such strict caution? At this point, ARMY is divided between concern and efforts to think rationally. Some choose to wait for further official statements, while others criticize the industry's pattern of often forcing artists to remain active even when their physical condition is not ideal. This discussion extends beyond Jin as an individual, becoming a broader reflection on the idol work system, public expectations, and the boundaries between professionalism and personal health. ARMY's emotional reaction also shows the unique relationship between BTS and their fans. The panic that arises is not just an overreaction, but a form of collective empathy that has been built over the years. Jin is not just an entertainer, but a symbol of resilience, maturity, and stability in the group. When that symbol shows a gap, the fans' sense of security is shaken. However, it is important to read this situation proportionally. To date, there has been no statement mentioning a total cessation of activities or a threatening condition. In fact, Jin's transparency can be seen as a mature step to prevent excessive speculation in the future. In a journalistic context, this is an effort to control the narrative, telling enough without opening up space for information distortion. This event once again confirms that the health of idols is not just a private issue, but a public topic that has broad emotional and social impacts. Jin, in his own way, has forced the public to pause from the euphoria of entertainment and look at the reality behind the stage. The question now is not only about Jin's condition, but about how the industry and fans will respond to such honesty in the future. Does ARMY's panic reflect healthy concern or additional emotional pressure for the artist? And does the manager's involvement become a sign of protection or a signal that the boundaries between transparency and control are still being negotiated? Amid all those questions, one thing becomes clear. Jin's confession has opened an important discussion that can no longer be ignored. The wave of panic that arose after Jin BTS's confession cannot be separated from the way that information circulates and is consumed. However, at this point, a crucial question needs to be asked honestly and critically. Does the public really understand what is happening, or are they trapped in a narrative flow shaped by incomplete pieces of information? Emotional reactions are indeed human, but do those emotions arise from verified facts or from assumptions that are continuously reinforced by social media algorithms? In the digital age, speed often trumps accuracy. Video snippets on TikTok, provocative titles on YouTube, emotional threads on Twitter, to speculations packaged as investigative reports, all mix into one stream of information that is difficult to distinguish between fact and opinion. When Jin conveyed his condition and the manager stepped in, the public immediately connected dots that were not necessarily related. Is this a reflection of genuine concern or proof of how easily the masses are moved by unverified narratives? This is where it is important to pause and ask, how complete is the information we receive? Was Jin's statement quoted in full, or was it cut off to create a dramatic impression? Is the manager's presence really an indication of an emergency, or just a standard procedure that was later exaggerated? These questions are not intended to underestimate concerns, but to place them in a more rational framework. Undeniably, the entertainment industry has a long history of exploiting public attention. Sensation sells, panic increases clicks, and emotions extend viewing duration. In this context, it is natural for suspicion to arise. Could this event be framed in such a way as to attract media attention? Or are we witnessing a real phenomenon, but amplified by a digital ecosystem that craves drama? Skepticism does not mean cynicism, but a tool to separate truth from noise. Army, as a solid global community, has great power in shaping opinions. However, this power also carries responsibility. When a narrative is believed and spread without verification, it can turn into a false truth that is difficult to correct. Are we spreading information because we want to protect idols, or because we unconsciously enjoy the sensation behind collective panic? This question is uncomfortable but needs to be asked. Furthermore, we need to reflect on the role of alternative media. The information we convey, as has been explained, comes from various platforms such as TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and other media. These platforms are not always wrong, but they are not always right either. Much content is created based on personal interpretations, source snippets, or even assumptions. Without a strict verification process, the line between reporting and speculation becomes blurred. Are we ready to admit that some of what we consume may not necessarily be fact? The provocation is this: what if the panic that occurs is actually part of the problem? What if the emotional pressure from the public exacerbates the situation instead of helping? And what if, in the end, the truth is much simpler than the dramatic narrative circulating? These questions are not intended to extinguish empathy, but to balance it with reason. Before concluding anything about Jin's condition, the manager's role, or the future direction of BTS, the public is invited to be skeptical and reflective. Ask yourself, where did this information come from? Who benefits if I believe it? Am I reading the original source, or just a summary that has been framed emotionally? In this way, the discussion that is born is not only lively, but also meaningful. In the end, the choice is in the hands of the audience and readers. Do you really believe that this event is completely real according to the circulating narrative? Or do you see the possibility of engineering, exaggeration, or even hoaxes for the sake of sensationalism? There is no single absolute answer, but there is one attitude that is always relevant. Think critically, refrain from hasty conclusions, and place empathy side by side with logic. Thank you for being part of this discussion, and may every piece of information we consume not only move emotions, but also enrich awareness.